So Sam Vaknin just released a very boring video labeled Anti-Narcissism, and he has made another video on it. I've seen it, and the concept is really kind of boring. It's oh well, narcissism is this overly overt, grandiose thing, and anti-narcissism is when they're kind of, you know, really like the opposite, but it's still linked to, you know, so they depreciate themselves. They have like the pseudo humility and all that stuff, but really it's still narcissism. It's trying to take the place of the overt narcissism, but it's still narcissistic. And yeah, sure, okay, whatever. You know, if you really want to get into the real specifics of that one little thing, whatever. But what's really important here with the title anti-narcissism, even though the way that we understand anti-anything is usually like in opposition of, even though it really means in place of, right? But when it comes to anti-narcissism, using the vernacular that we're all used to as in opposition of, when I see anti-narcissism, I think of a covert way that a narcissist basically does anti-narcissism, right? So that means that they are expressing that they really dislike all these elements of narcissism, right? So they really dislike the idealization and then the discard. They really dislike the abuse that comes with it. They really dislike the changing of moral character on a whim. They really dislike the lies, that, you know, whatever. They really dislike that, and they speak against it. And so the minute that they speak against it, you're like, oh, well, they get it. They understand. I can confide in this person. I can fight with them. That's the light. That's the small child in there that's trying to get out, that really hated its abuse and doesn't want anything to do with being a narcissist and propagating that abuse. And so then that becomes like a light and a beacon, and then you kind of ignore all the abuse and all the trash that's going on because you've seen that little light. But in reality, it's kind of like the light on the anglerfish, and it's just used to reel you in and consume you. So I think that's a more important anti-narcissism to focus on, which is kind of like, I guess you could say, covert anti-narcissism. And so they'll be incredibly abusive, selectively forgetful, and then they'll just like keep throwing out these little treats of like, yo, but I'm actually just a normal person just trapped in this body, and I'm stuck in this system, and it's all terrible, and I just can't stand your expressions of it. You know, I can't stand your tiny expressions. And they'll focus on where you've possibly had a failing in character, where you possibly change your mind about something, and then they'll be like, I hate that in you, I despise it, and you're like, wow, I despise that too, and you know, and you feel like you're on the same team, when in reality they are just either an ignorant, or when it comes to malevolent, they're an aware narcissist, but they are keeping up this anti-narcissistic front in order to, you know, make them look appealing and appetizing. Because if you actually realize that they are a narcissist, and you would invest in them and spend long time listening to them and getting invested in them, just like a lot of people do with Sam Vaknin with his huge videos. They'll watch a half-an-hour video, and you have no idea what kind of things are getting interjected and penetrated into you, if he is truly coming from an evil and narcissistic perspective, but then just kind of shrouds it in, well, I'm just following the book. Like, I've been around enough religious people to understand that Mr. Vaknin is basically being a religious person, a Bible basher, but from the psychological realm. And so he believes that he's kind of protected from being godless, from being impersonal, for being rude, for being a narcissist, and hiding that fact, and not submitting and understanding that he's that, and sharing that with his viewers, right? He uses this study to kind of mask that fact. You get that all the time with religious people. I just came out of a religious community, a cult type of community, and they have great scriptures. These are 4,000 years old. How old are your scriptures, buddy? Like 50 years old, 100, and they're written by men. The divinely infused nature is only for the fact that it's a group of people trying to get to the root of problems and help, right? But get your act together, Mr. Vaknin, for real, and start being a person, please. Start being something, and stop being nothing. You you are just a nothing, and you just slap books over it, and you slap titles on yourself, and you believe, and you reflect that, and then you think you are that, and you're just leading a lot of people astray. I just want you to wake up. Peace.